Is using a virtual private network, or a VPN as they're better known, a legal loophole to avoid having to pay for a TV license to watch your favourite shows on BBC and the live streams of football matches across the world? Stick with me in this video because we'll consider the cold hard facts and the surprising reality of it. Because today we're busting the myths surrounding virtual private networks so you know exactly where you stand. My last TV licensing video got hundreds of comments from people suggesting using a VPN to continue watching BBC iPlayer and live shows without a TV license. Now, many people think using a virtual private network is a complete get out of jail free card that literally allows them to watch whatever they want without paying for a TV license. I think that's why so many people just answer, use a VPN, it's easy. Now, I'm sure those people think they're just bending the rules a little bit and offering up a hack that's a legal loophole to enable you to keep watching what you want and save the money of the license fee, which is clearly something that they're doing. At this point, I will mention my channel, of course, along with many other channels on YouTube, does not offer legal advice, simply explains different legal issues and responsibilities so that you, the viewer, can make an informed decision based on what you know. Now, personally, I don't support the TV license. I actually think it's literally a stealth tax. In fact, I dislike it so much that I've actually started a parliamentary petition to abolish the TV licence and scrap BBC funding. There's a QR code on the screen now, which you can photograph with your phone, which will take you straight to the House of Commons website, where you can sign a petition online in 60 seconds. That way you genuinely can show the government how much you don't want to pay the TV licence anymore. So have your say, and if we can get enough signatures, it might actually make a difference. So get all your family, friends, co-workers and colleagues, and anybody else you know who doesn't want to pay the TV licence anymore, to go onto the parliamentary website and sign that petition. Anyhow, back to VPNs. Firstly, let's strip away the tech jargon and look at the cold hard legal facts. If you actually think a VPN is your ticket to BBC iPlayer and live streaming all the sports events and other shows that you want to, and you can do all that completely risk-free, you might still be in for a bit of a surprise. If you're one of those people, I bet you still get letters from TV licensing, don't you? Let's think of why. Don't forget to drop a comment below, share your thoughts on the TV license, and also your thoughts on using a VPN to actually circumvent paying for the license. Now, if you've seen any of my previous videos, as I said, you know where I stand. I'm not a fan of the TV license. I personally paid it for years when I never used to watch any TV, until one day it dawned on me, and so I stopped paying it and registered as no license needed. And when you think about it, in a world of so much choice nowadays, a mandatory £180 TV license fee per year is an outdated relic of a bygone era. It was probably beneficial to the government during the Cold War and before that, when foreign countries could have tried to manipulate the people of our country by accessing the media. But times have changed, and to be honest, the TV license in the BBC is something that should have been phased out with VHS and Betamax videos. But if you are one of those people that absolutely loves the BBC and you just have to access your live sports and live events and live shows, then let's look at whether VPNs are actually legal to use and why they really might significantly reduce your chances of getting caught watching without a license, but also whether using a VPN genuinely does remove your legal liability and responsibility to actually pay for that license. Let's start with the big one. Is a VPN actually legal to use? Absolutely, of course it is. And in some situations, using a virtual private network is actually recommended. Lots of companies and organisations use virtual private networks for security purposes. And in the UK, a VPN is a legitimate security tool which encrypts your data and protects your privacy. In fact, the National Cybersecurity Centre encourages using VPNs for online safety. However, regarding TV licensing, we do need to consider Section 363 of the Communications Act 2003. Yes, that one I've mentioned before. Because in reality, the law doesn't really care how you receive your broadcast. I've had people saying, oh, I watch it on my phone in the park. I watch it over Wi-Fi, it's streamed nowadays, so it's not actually airwaves, so it's got nothing to do with the TV license. That doesn't matter anymore, because they really don't care how you receive that broadcast. The fact of the matter is, regardless of how you receive your broadcast, like for example, I don't know, through a VPN, all TV licensing care about is the fact that you're actually receiving it. Think of it like this. You drive down to your local supermarket. Before you get out of the car, you pop on a Balaclava, and you walk into the supermarket, and you grab a joint of meat, and you walk out without paying. Now, wearing a balaclava isn't illegal, even though you probably would look extremely dodgy walking around the supermarket wearing one. But it's not illegal. But the act of stealing that joint of meat is illegal, isn't it? It's a criminal offence. A virtual private network is to all intents and purposes a digital balaclava. It's not an invisibility cloak. It doesn't make you completely invisible to the world. Any sites you log into and any sites you go onto will still log that you're there, regardless of what people may tell you. But it is more of a balaclava. It'll mask your identity for the purposes that you want to use it for. So it makes it look like you're in, I don't know, Tokyo or New York or Australia or anywhere else around the world. Anywhere else except where you actually are, as in the UK. But regardless of whether you use a VPN or not, if you're physically sat in the UK, receiving a live signal or accessing BBC iPlayer, you're in reality legally receiving that broadcast as far as the Communications Act 2003 is concerned. So in reality, it's not a hack, it's not a loophole, it is in fact TV license evasion. You're still liable for the TV license the moment that data hits your screen and you start watching it. You're just choosing to hide that you're doing it by using a virtual private network to mask your location. Now this is where the tech-savvy evaders still get caught out. You got your VPN turned on, your IP address says you're in Switzerland or somewhere else across the world. If you're nice and secure, you're watching BBC iPlayer, TV licensing won't know because your VPN says you're in Switzerland, not the UK, so you're not liable for a license, are you? In theory. So for BBC iPlayer, what happens when you want to use it? You log in, don't you? Red flag straight away. Same with any other sites you log into. Reason being, way back when, the BBC moved to a mandatory account system where you had to register. To create that account, you had to put in some details, email address, UK postcode, that kind of thing. Now under the Digital Economy Act 2017, government agencies and public bodies have significantly expanded powers to share data for the purpose of debt recovery and crime prevention. Yes, crime prevention, as in fraud, which technically speaking, if you evade paying for a TV license when you're actually watching stuff that you shouldn't be, well, it's certainly committing a crime. So fundamentally, if you're logging into BBC iPlayer or watching Sky Sports Live using a VPN, so you don't have to pay for a TV license, currently you are committing a criminal offence. When you log into iPlayer, you're not just an anonymous IP anymore. You have a user identity. The BBC system cross-references your data with TV licensing's national address database. If that database sees user 123 is logged in watching EastEnders live on BBC through BBC iPlayer, but details linked to that account doesn't show a valid TV licence of the property, well, that might prompt a few letters through the post, or perhaps a visit and a knock at the door from those lovely TV licensing representatives that we all like so much. So you see, it doesn't matter if you use BBC iPlayer through a VPN, because the fact that you're using it, unless you happen to have moved address or something like that, or set it up with a fake account and fake name, which I'm sure people have done, but fundamentally when you log in, the BBC will share that information with TV licensing because they're funded by TV licensing. So a VPN will do you no good from that respect. Okay, I can hear what you're thinking. You're thinking to yourself, I'll just say I'm on holiday if they ever come around and I've watched it while I was away. Well, that's true, you could. If you're lucky enough to go on holiday to Japan one day, Switzerland the next day, Australia the next day, United States the week after, half the Mediterranean and global travel, all in the space of the same month, or even if you log in from the same VPN country every single time. It's a bit of a red flag that you're probably using a VPN, because you're logging in using a BBC iPlayer account that you set up as a UK one from a UK address, but you're permanently abroad. So eventually TV licensing and Capita, their collections agency, are going to turn around and think, okay, yeah, well, they're logging in from abroad a lot, in which case they're probably not abroad, they're using a VPN. What will eventually happen is the government will get wise, crack down and start heavily regulating VPNs and their use and the purpose for use. Okay, so let's assume you don't use BBC iPlayer through your VPN, because we've just established if you log into a BBC iPlayer account and it's a UK account through your VPN, you might as well just wave out the window and say, hey, we're here. So you can't do that. So let's assume that you're watching, I don't know, a football match from America, logged in through your VPN. So there's no way TV licensing are going to be able to figure out what you're doing. So that makes you think to yourself, can't possibly get caught, can you? Yeah, you can. And it's through the good old traditional way that most people get caught, to be honest, self-incrimination. First of all, there's the window test. A TV licensing representative will turn up at your address, and the first thing they're going to do as they're walking up your driveway is have a little peek in through your window and see if they can see you watching something on your big TV. If you've got a 65-inch TV in your living room and you're watching Sky Sports Live broadcasting a football match from the side of the world on a Saturday afternoon and you're registered as no TV licence, they're going to know that when they see it. That's trap number one. Then, of course, there's a doorstep admission. When you get the knock at the door, you open the door unexpectedly and there's a TV licensing officer standing there and they start quizzing you and you just turn around and say, well, I only watch BBC News every now and again. Boom, that's it. You've just admitted it. Then, of course, there's the resentful neighbour. You mentioned the football match that you watched on Saturday. Oh, it was great, wasn't it? So-and-so won. And they think to themselves, hang on, you told me last week you don't pay for a TV licence. How are you watching that live game? And they pay for their licence, so they're a bit resentful, and there's maybe a bit of a grudge that's built up over the years. Happens with neighbours sometimes. And so they just report you for no licence. Because yes, TV licensing do encourage reporting of licence evaders. Then, of course, there's the data trail. We've already discussed that. When you log into certain accounts or BBC iPlayer, you're basically waving a flag saying, hey, look, I'm using a VPN, but I'm still in the UK because I'm logging into UK accounts. So the actual reality is, yes, using a VPN likely does significantly reduce your chances of being caught by TV licensing or tracked by anybody at all. But it doesn't, however, change what you're actually doing in your home, the accounts and websites you log into. What you say to people, your friends, neighbours, family, colleagues at work. You let slip something in front of the wrong person and they think, oh, hang on a minute. There we are. The BBC's funding model, the TV licence, is under fire. It's archaic, it's outdated, and many people don't want it anymore. As I've said, I've started a petition. Go and sign it. It's particularly pertinent because there are debates going on in Parliament right now about TV licensing's future. VPNs are legal and are a fantastic idea to use to protect your privacy rights. However, using a VPN to watch live TV or BBC iPlayer is not a legal licensing loophole. It doesn't mean you're not liable for a license. It is license evasion, and currently, certainly up until 2028, it's still a criminal offence dealt with by the Magistrates Court, and the fines are hefty. There we are, so stay safe, stay legal, and stay informed. More importantly, spend that £180 on something you want to, instead of the TV licence, but don't get yourself in trouble. You now know the rights and wrongs of using a VPN. Whether you choose to do so, entirely up to you. Personally, I don't think it's worth the risk. If I want to watch BBC and live shows, I just pay the £15 a month. Go sign a petition, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.